Hello, Keno.
All right. So I think we're cooking. I think we're simulcasting. That's amazing. So we're simulcasting both on GoToWebinar as well as on Facebook Live at. So awesome! Finally got to do this, Karriem. This is great. So I'm here with
Yes, awesome.
Karriem Kanston, and Karriem is a certified John Maxwell coach, and he's going to be taking us through a leaders. And the first event here is called Leading Through Crisis. Leading Through Crisis. And I'm excited to hear what Karriem has to say. We have a few John Maxwell leadership coaches that we work with at IEL is one of them. Melvin Veasley is another. And what's your other partner again? I forgot her name.
Diane Kane.
Diane Kane is another John Maxwell leadership coach. You'll probably hear her as well. We are the Institute of Entrepreneurship and Leadership after all. So what we have decided to do is to not reproduce great content that's already out there. So we look for the best and the brightest, and Karriem, I'm going to let him talk as well. But I just want to brag on him some more. I've known him for a while. He's one of the best and brightest. I'm so honored, Karriem, that you would share your time to do this presentation for the IEL free of charge. We're all working from home, and we all have the home background, so we'll filter the noise as much as possible. But Karriem has a lot in store for us, so sit back and relax. And over to you, Karriem.
You're welcome, and I want to thank you, Keno, and thank you, IEL and the team, and all the people that's watching for allowing me to share this information from John C. Maxwell. He is the owner of John Maxwell Team. I'm a certified coach, trainer, and speaker with him, and he presented this content to us during the shutdown of what we're going through with the COVID-19. We were supposed to have a conference in Florida in March, and so he decided to listen. Let me share some content for people, and hopefully we as team members go and share it and add value to other people free of charge, because we know during a crisis we need some real leadership. And so Keno is a great leader at IEL, and so that we're doing this during the COVID-19, and as things are seem like they're kind of getting on a basis where it might be slowing down. We don't know, might get back up. Right. But as it relates to crisis, Keno, what have you done during this time to when things came out? Was there something that you immediately did or had put in place just in case you had to work remotely?
Right. Well, so I run a software development company. That's the main job, and we work remotely anyway. My entire team works remotely, so that was just business as usual. Actually, during the shutdown time, I've actually gotten more busy because a lot of things, because the rest of the world has slowed down, it's given me a bit more breathing room to do projects that I didn't have the time to do. From a perspective, it's really given us an opportunity to go virtual. It's something that we've always wanted to do. It's something that we've thought about for over the years. I mean, IEL is still a startup. A lot of people forget this. We've only become a 501c3 in 2007, though it's been in my heart and mind for over a decade. But one of the things, we went back to virtual. We do have online classes, but it's more static content. And so Mondays we kicked off a new series called Entretherapy. So for a long time, so that's now virtual. Mondays at noon. Wednesdays at noon, we have a short 5 minute where I just share something on leadership called Leadership Minute. We have a Tableau class coming out. Folks can sign up for that. We have a strategic life planning session coming out next week. So we have a lot of virtual content that we're providing for free. So the biggest thing that we've done organization-wide is go virtual, with our training and our content. And even now, it's still an experiment where I'm doing GoToWebinar at the same time we're doing Facebook Live, just in case, some folks aren't the GoToWebinar or video conferencing type people. They prefer to do Facebook live stream. So, I think assuming my bandwidth is good enough, I'm going to be brave and try doing 3 simulcasts, right? I'm going to try adding LinkedIn Live in there as well to see if, how can I maximize the coverage for the audience, right?
Yes, yes, that is awesome, Keno, man. You just doing it up, man. I'm so proud of you, and this is a time where real leaders stand up and stand out, and maybe that's where I start from, and so here's the information. My background. I don't like to talk about myself too much, but the what I love to do is help people add value to themselves, but then also they can add value to others. And so,
right.
I have 3 degrees in business, Wells University. I've been a commercial lender in the banking industry, and also do some counseling for business owners with my consulting business called Kanston Development, but also, certified trainer and speaker coach with John Maxwell. So after that, I want to share with everyone, and hopefully it's going to be amazing for everyone. So what has been a crisis for people? And so that's the question I leave with. And I want you to just think about that, because I know some people, when I interacting with, just think about what has been a crisis for you. What has been on your mind, on your heart, that you said to yourself that there was a crisis, that you experienced. And so, a crisis could mean different things to different people. It could be personal, right? A crisis could be career. A crisis could be business, or a crisis could be, family crisis. So how we define a crisis, it depends on who we are and what we are dealing with. And so, as you see here, crisis comes in different many forms. I'll define crisis for you. John Maxwell defines crisis for us also. But if you can think of a crisis, and I'll define it later, right? And it could be et cetera. So it could be, oh, my boss got mad at me today, and I'm kind of stressed out, right?
So does crisis have to do with your own?
Go ahead.
Does crisis have to do with your own emotional level, like how much you can handle? So if I can handle this much, then this is my crisis. If I can this much, then this is my crisis.
Well, it really depends. Listen, crisis means that, and I'll probably just need to jump. So this is what the definition of crisis is, right? Mm-hmm. It's an intense time of difficulty. All right? It's a tense time of difficulty. Meaning, it doesn't, just because you have the aptitude to deal with crisis doesn't mean that it's not a difficult time. All right? And so it means that there's a difficult time, and what are we going to do in a difficult time? So, for instance, I'll give you an example, right? In my business education program, sometimes we rely on guests to come and help us out. One time, guests did not show up, right? We had like 50% of people cancel at the last minute. Difficult, intense time, right? But as a leader, I didn't lose, but I remained calm. And people say, "Why are you so calm, Karriem?" And I said, "I'm calm because I need to make a decision in this difficult time." All right. So it's how we deal with crisis is really what I want to help people out with, because crisis actually frees you. And sometimes certain crisis has frozen us as people, So before COVID-19, I went through a personal crisis myself. So when this came upon, I was already in the mindset of dealing with crisis. And so, John Maxwell talks about crisis as a difficult time requiring us as leaders to make a decision that's a turning point. Right? How do we take this difficult time and make a turn? Right? Let's say, for instance, a lot of people some people can relate to this, some people can't, right? Financial crisis in a person's life, right? They lost their job. They have no money coming in, right? And unemployment hasn't kicked in yet. It's a real crisis right now. Right. Right? And so some people look at it and are going to be frozen. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to turn to. Or the only place they turn into is the government entities to try to help them out. Now, other people see it as an opportunity. I'm glad that I lost my job. Now I need to get my butt together and get my business running. Right? So it really depends on, who the person is, but we're trying to help all people, no matter where you are. One of the things, and I share this a lot of times talking about this topic, is that a lot of people have watched football, right? Mm-hmm. You watch football, right, Keno?
Right. Well,
and,
all right. Well,
if you think about it,
my football is, what you all call soccer, right? American fella. So yeah, I enjoy American football and I enjoy football. So yeah, I watch football.
That's right. But also in soccer, right? So one of the things I like to talk about is that let's talk about sports. You have a coach, right?
Right.
And they might have a number of coaches. And what I love about sports, especially like football, is that after the quarterback finishes the downs, gets off the field, they go to the bench. Somebody usually is running to the quarterback or a video, right? Mm-hmm. And saying, man, this is what we saw from above. You were in the pocket, but you couldn't see that guy open. Right. And many times we need other people to kind of look at the total where we are, because we're right in the moment. Mm. Right? Everybody's in a certain moment or a crisis, right? Right, whatever, now or past or in the future. And many of times, if you get somebody else to look at what you're going through, they can kind of shed some light on certain, because we see it from our view. We don't see it from other people's view.
Right.
So here's some of crisis, right? Crisis is common. It's a common thing. Mm-hmm. Common thing. People think that crisis is not common, but crisis happen. Just like COVID-19, they're interviewing the great IT guy, Bill Gates, right? Right. And they keep on asking him, you talked about this in 2014, Bill, in 2015 about pandemics.
Right.
It was gonna happen. Right. People know that crisis happens. Is what we do with the crisis is really what we have to make movement on. And so, crisis does distract us as people, gets us off kilter from our vision, from our goals. And also, crisis is going to reveal what's inside of you. Mm-hmm.
That is so true, right? It's like because when you're squeezed, what's inside comes out, right?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. You would know how somebody really was people in a crisis, right?
Right.
Right. And so that's one of the things that we as people need to understand, that listen, what truly is inside of us is going to come out. Right. If we wasn't prepared for the crisis, it's going to come out, right? If we knew certain things about something, it's going to show our capacity, right?
Right.
So what do we do with that? Is that we got to understand that we have to adapt, right?
Right.
And so crisis also requires us to adapt to where we are. I don't know if you want to shed some light on anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, sometimes when a crisis hits, you're prepared, you're preparing one scenario, like from a macro point of view, what you would do under certain circumstances. But sometimes the things you need to make plan succeed, you don't have, hence it's a crisis. Right, so you just like the example you gave with 10,000 small business class, where you had some presenters canceled. You planned for presenters, you probably planned a couple backup activities, but if 50% presenters are gone, then you're going to have to adapt. So yeah, I agree with you 100% on that, Karriem. That adaptability is so key, and it's one of those. It's like it's hard to teach leadership, right? It's one of those things you have to learn by experience. Okay, with failing royally as well. And so it's only in the process, in the grind, in the failure, in the successes that you learn how to adapt. The football analogy, right? You have to get sacked a few times to learn how to let go of the ball. Yeah.
That's right. And it is interesting, like number 5 says, crisis is when real leader shows up. Mm-hmm. So there's a personality style called this personality style.
Yes, I like that.
You like this, and so we have it here also at the John Maxwell Team. In this personality style, psychologists have surveyed many people in the world around this. 69% of the people are people that look for stability and security that's in the world. So because I know that, and because other people know that, that means that 70% of the world needs security. That means that as a leader, if I'm in control of people, control of resources, control of a government, I need to be making people know that they, because if not, it's going to be a crazier crisis. And so that's when real leaders show up. Real leaders show up, and you might not have a position, you might not have a title. It might just, at that point in time, someone needs to make a decision. Right. You see certain things where you hear great stories when there was like mass shootings in schools and a kid made a split decision to do something and save lives. Right. That student was a leader in position, but was a leader in that time because they made a decision to save people's lives. Right. So the goal is in crisis, because the real leaders will show up in a crisis.
I like something you just said, Karriem. I really love it. And I think it's tweetable. Crisis does not, a leader does not have a title, or a leader doesn't need a title, right? Because there are many people with senior titles that are horrible leaders.
That's right. Yeah. There's a difference between management and leadership.
Exactly.
And people realize like management leaders are influencing people. Right. All right. And so if you call yourself a leader, you better influence somebody. You better be influencing people. If not, you're not a leader. Right. Right. And when times gets tough, up and make decisions. And let me tell you, it's hard being a leader when you don't know all the answers, but that's fine. That means that maybe you should just tell people, I don't know the answer, but let me get back to you. Or you know what, so-and-so, because they might know the answer. Right.
That's true. It's like I always say, let me ask Karriem, because he knows the answer.
or we might know someone that knows the answer to that question. So here's people to kind of like think about, right? Crisis makes it easier to distinguish between good and bad leaders. And why does it do that? And I think we talked about that also, Keno, is that when people are put to the test, the good leaders and the good leaders will show up and the bad leaders will show up. And so, one of the things I want to share with people is that being a leader, as I said before, doesn't mean that you know all the answers. Right. And because you made wrong and you were evaluated as a bad leader, doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Right. It just means that maybe you didn't have all of the great, tools and resources that you could make, at a certain time. And you made bad decisions, right? But if you go up to them and say, listen, yeah, we missed out on that, right? I messed up on that thing, or we didn't do that correctly. That's fine. Right. But what happens is that, an assessment will be done, right? Service will be done. Right. And you have to go into it and say, I'm not going to be perfect on everything, but hopefully I'm not 90% bad on everything either,
Right. Good point.
Yeah. So here's some other questions. How do we define what constitutes crisis? What is leading during a time of crisis? That question is crucial, right? Especially for people that are leaders or people that's leading people, like, because this will help you. Like a lot of people are asking me now, what do we do, in a pandemic, right? How do we prepare for it? And I'm like, listen, you have some experience now, right? You're a business owner, right, and you didn't plan for this COVID-19 to shut you down. Right. You got some experience now. And so you need to look at that. So like, for instance, I have my 2-year-old and my 8-month-old daughters at home, but I'm still doing work, and sometimes you all can hear them in the background. So now, I have experience of doing that on a full-time basis. Now I do. So now I need to know, all right, what do I need to do to prepare, going forward? What do I need to do to get the kids, ready or eat? So now we have experience. Now we can actually use that experience for the next time a crisis shows up.
Right. Right.
You know.
And so it sounds like what you're saying to Kareem is that crisis is not something you should run away from because it's the teacher for the next crisis. I have a quote that I say in our class: failure is that friend you're glad they came after they left. And it's like crisis, right? Crisis is that thing you're glad it came after it left because it teaches, makes you stronger for the next time.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, yeah. I can't steal this quote, but the president of Bryant University, President Mackley, said that he said, I want my students to fail as soon as they get here to the school, mess up as soon as possible, because then they're gonna learn something.
Right.
Right. And learning something is important. So those are the things that we should be helping people out. Right. Let them fail fast.
Mm-hmm.
But learn from their failure.
Right. True.
And so I'm gonna put other questions here. We don't have to go over all of them, but if you think about it, what makes crisis seem so urgent, and especially with COVID-19, because people's lives are at stake, right? And so in this crisis, like urgency, that might be the same thing. Like when I do motivational. I'm speaking to people, and I'm encouraging a business owner that somebody's income, somebody's family, somebody's destiny is at stake, and that's why it's so important.
Right.
Right. Some that you have helped, Keno, through all of your training and stuff, is that they got a job, right, or they got a better education, right. And now it helps them bring in more income. Now it also helped them out with other people, right? So some crisis is very, very people, and then in real times, we should be really thinking about the reality of what type of crisis is happening and what things are happening. And the leaders need to communicate to their people. Like communication is important,
right?
I know sometimes that we as leaders want to run away and lock the door, or people, we want to run away and lock the door,
right?
Because we don't want to deal with the crisis. But people are looking for answers, and people are looking for us to decisions, right?
So,
Kareem,
that
I don't know if you want to expand upon any of those.
That third question there, Kareem, can you stand that for a second? Say some more. So, how should leaders define reality in times of crisis? Because, I'm still learning and growing, as my sphere, my circle of influence. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, you have where someone will impose a crisis upon you. You know what I mean? So, they're having a crisis, and where you may be sympathetic, empathetic to their particular crisis and condition. And so you have to define reality, bearing in mind that, it's a crisis situation for them, whether real or imagined, but it's really not a crisis for you. And if you embrace all that, the crisis emotion, the emotions of crisis, then that could throw off, the balance of what you're trying to accomplish that day, that season, whatever. So how do you, during times like that, define reality, right? What is reality?
I would say probably be authentic with people. So like, for instance, I was asked to campaign a couple of years ago. I really wanted to do it. It was about hard to do it, but and they really needed somebody to do it. Mm-hmm. And I had to go back to them and I said, no, I can't do it. Right. I said in my heart, I love to do it. Right now, I can't do it. Right. And so sometimes people will, like you said, impose upon you, right? I really need you. I need you to help me out with this project. Right. I need your team. I need your company. But at that point in time, it might not be the right timing and the right fit. Right. And then sometimes people looking for you to be authentic, right? Right. So telling somebody no sometimes might be the right answer versus telling them yes, and then we can't deliver. And I've done that before. Like I remember a couple months ago, I was trying to help out a guy with a speaking business, and I said, "Oh, I can help you," but in the back, I should have been telling him, "No, not right now. Maybe in the future." Right. I said yes, and then after a while, he's like, "Man, you don't have time to help me out," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's true, I don't." And I said, "I didn't get back to you on a timeline, and that's my fault." But we just got to be real, or be real, meaning that somebody says, your team, hey, why did this go wrong? I need your help on this or something. And you might say, I don't even know the answer to that. I'll get back to you.
Right.
Right. Being real and being honest, or telling people, listen, I don't know the answer to that.
Right.
Like I just remember I had a conversation with I said, I don't know the answer. And if I find out what the answer is, I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Right. Right.
So that's being real. Right.
Right.
And that's what all people want, just say, listen, I don't know. I don't know, but hopefully I'll find out.
Yeah.
So hopefully that helps some people. So if we think about all of this stuff, think about being in a crisis, thinking about the distractions, that could keep us from making movement. One of the things we have to think about, who do we know that is going to find what that crisis is in the real time, right? Mm-hmm. Who can we turn to? Who can we reach out to say, listen, you know what? When I'm in a crisis, I need some help on this, right? It might be in business, it might be in personal life, it might be the pastor, in person, or it might be the mentor in your career, right? But we need to find somebody else that's going to shed some light on what's going on in this crisis. And to give you an example, a personal example, years ago, I lost 2 family members within 3 months. Mm-hmm. My family. And after, we had the funerals, I had to go and I said, listen, man, I need to talk to somebody. Not because I was wore down or depressed. It's because that I was helping out so many other people that I was out.
Right.
So I said, now I need to go and talk to somebody that doesn't know me and share some information. Right. So sometimes we have to look out for some resources also.
Right. So Karriem, talk to this a bit more. So we have folks here listening from all across the globe on Facebook. So it's different in different contexts. But here in Providence, Rhode Island, where you have different, we have different demographics, and there are less people that look like us in our position. And so access to leaders that can empathize and be culturally in all the leads you want to spell is difficult to find. Right? It's difficult to find people who say, yes, I'll share with you. But 2, it's difficult to find someone that you can say, hey man, and speak plainly, right? Where that's difficult. Because here in Providence, there's only one Karriem Kanston, right? That does what you do. When I think of software development companies run by someone that looks like me, there's probably 2 or 3 that I know them all personally in the entire state, and whenever I talk to folks, sometimes I get confused for them. Hey, are you such and such? No, I'm the other tech guy, right? So, what do you do when it's hard, when leaders and draw from our far and few between?
Or and then you brought up a good one. I would say, also look outside from the usual suspects, right? And so, and I'll share this with you all, is that I was never good at speaking in front of people. I was never good at communication, even when I got to college. And there was one, I forgot, one professor that said, I'm going to go to the president of the university and I'm going to see if they can mentor. They might not be from your background. Yes, they are not from the same race, but I'm going to ask them to mentor a young Black brother that is trying to develop their communication. And you know what that person did? They paid for a high-level communication professor at Brown University for me, right, to help with my communication.
Wow.
And they didn't have to do that, right? But they said, listen, you know what? If this professor is coming to me and asking me to help somebody else, and I still respect that, because that person didn't have to do it. It wasn't going to gain them any money. It wasn't going to gain them any notoriety. They didn't use me as a testimonial for the college, anything.
Yeah.
They just, right. So they set me up. I don't know. This person is the person that that they paid her a lot of money because she deals with high level speakers. And she would take me, she would listen to me, and she would say, this is what you're doing wrong.
Right.
And this is what you need to do right. Then I would go back to my mentor and he was like, Karriem, how's the sessions going? Right? I want to introduce you to somebody else. Right. And so sometimes we also need to look at people that might not be in our realm, right, but also could speak and mentor us. And then also, I look at it like this. If people don't want to mentor us, be a sounding board for us, no matter what race or background they came from, that's not probably the right person we need help from anyway. We want somebody that's going to be like, I'm going to help you out, man. You know what? This is what I can do for you, and this is what I can't do for you.
Right. Good point. Yeah. Thank you.
And it might be, it might be the wrong timing. So when I was looking at the John Maxwell certification, it started in 2003, but I didn't sign up to be certified until last year.
Right.
So just
right. That's a long time.
So if that sheds light on anything, hopefully, right? But just think about that, right? A long time. And so one of the things that we have to do as people, it might sound harsh, but suck it up and ask.
Right.
It's hard to say it.
I like that. Suck it up and ask for help. I'm gonna add it in the Facebook.
Suck it up and ask for help.
The Facebook chat. Suck it up and ask for help.
Suck it up and ask for help, right? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, man, there's right now that has a great opportunity to make a shift in their life and their career and their business if they only ask for help from somebody else.
Right. Right. Good words. Good
words.
words.
You've been thinking about getting another job. Yes, you might be on unemployment right now, looking for the job that you want. Mm-hmm. Yes, you've been talking about starting that business. Why not start it right now? Why you're on unemployment? You might be a business owner that you've been thinking about starting a new business opportunity. Why not think about it now? You have some time. Right. So there's many opportunities in a crisis, and sometimes crisis comes so we could just take a pause. Take a pause from the daily activity. Take a pause from the stuff that's not relevant doing, to really say, listen, there's people that now realize that, that family is important. Because right. Before they probably was more outside of the house than they were in the house. Now you're in the house, you seeing, I got to talk to my kid, I have to my husband, right?
Right.
And so it's sometimes crisis brings us back to reality.
Right. Wow, I like that. Sometimes crisis brings us back to reality. That's a good one.
Yeah, man. There were people. So I would talk about the DISC personality test a little before. Here's a graph about it. And this graph really looks at, depending on your personality, in times of stress, this is what you do. And so, like in like the one at the top, the D, decisive, direct, this is like the dominant person. In times of stress, right, they thrive in stressful situations. A dominant person, they can make decisions quickly, and they're very task oriented, and they could seem intimidated, but they might not be, right?
Right.
But then you look at somebody like I talked about the person that was stable earlier, is that they thrive in consistency. So if they're not getting consistent information or consistent directions, they're okay. But these people also are very hesitant to make decisions.
Right.
So that person that might have that personality style as a stable person, they might not be the leader in difficult crises all the time, or they might need a dominant out during that time also, right? So as leaders, we got to understand our personality style, but also the personality style of our team, so we can better communicate and be more effective.
Wow. So what you're saying is that a leader can have, a specific personality. The team also has a specific personality profiles. That's what I'm hearing.
That's right.
Wow.
Yep. Kind of like, so like, the top right is me, I'm charismatic, I'm energetic, I want to energize people, encourage people, people. But you see that last bullet point may appear careless with details and data, right? So you don't want me to be a project manager when you are asking for details. But right. when I'm working with my team, I'm looking for the detailed person to keep me on track when I miss the details.
Right. So
that's what teamwork's all about. And if you can understand those different personality styles, when a crisis comes, you can say, listen, Keno's the ciphers, the right now. But then Karriem's the energetic person, charismatic. He needs to make sure people are encouraged and motivated during a crisis.
Right. No, that is really good. We did with one of our previous team. We use a similar, not the disc, but the wired that way personality profile, where it's still same four quadrants and pretty much like disc. I think you can do a correlation between the two. And sometimes what we do with the team is that will come to work and they'll say, I'm having a very red day today, which means that they are the fourth bullet. So they may come off abrasive or intimidating. Don't take it personal. Don't come to me for compassion. Or someone might say, they're in green. I'm having a green day today, which means I'm very hesitant. I'm very sensitive. So be nice to me today. In quotes. So
and that's so important, because the more about somebody's style, the more that I could be more effective and work together. Right. And it can actually help you be a better team. So I don't know if you have any questions for me, or does anybody put any comments in any social media streams?
We have some repeats here. Honesty is the best policy. My longtime buddy Michael Bennett from Jamaica. That was really it reiterated or highlighted that. Say something about this. Oftentimes, or the way we've been taught leadership, especially I dare I say as men of color, there's a bravado that comes with male leadership, right? If you're a leader, you have to be the alpha. It has to be red, the certain way. But say something about being a servant leader, and what does that mean? The whole concept of servant leadership.
Wow, that's no joke, man. You asked that question. So one thing I want to say, leadership, you can learn to be a leader. And so I want to dispel the myth that just because you have some innate gifts or abilities in your DNA that you're going to be a leader. No, you can learn the skills. You can learn to be a leader. I didn't think I was a leader, even though I have some positions. And until I really started, looking at the theory of leadership and the psychology of leadership in college, I really say, oh, all right, I can do this. And so we as men, and then when you talk about people of color, is that because we were so suppressed, and because we're so suppressed sometimes in our community, and because of what we see on TV, what we see in the news, we sometimes shy away from leadership positions. And let me give you a personal example. So I'm the lead faculty for one of the 10,000 small business sites. It's a Goldman Sachs Foundation funded program. Someone said to me, I want you to be the lead faculty. I want you to apply for the position. I said, I don't think I have what it takes. Right. There's other people with PhD, more experience and more teaching skills. And the person said, you have the skills. You just don't know that you have the skills. And yes, there's other people that could do this role, but you are a person that could bring information out of people. We're looking for facilitation, not to be a theorist and just like a head teacher. Right. You need you to be a person for stations and content.
Right.
And so it had to come from somebody else to tell me. That's why we should be influencing and helping other people, right, as leaders. Right. And so it's important for us to take up the mantle. And that means sometimes we got to take our neck out, and just go for it.
Right.
Apply for the position you don't think that you have the experience for, right?
Yeah.
Ask for the position that you don't think you have the experience for, because other people do it. Why can't we do it ourselves?
Right.
We want to wait till we have all the degrees, have all of the have all of the information. Come on, that might never happen.
Right.
We might have to do that stuff while we have the position.
Right. Right. Good
Right.
answer.
A president wasn't a president until they became president.
That's true.
a CEO wasn't a CEO until CEO.
Right. That is true. That is true. That's a good answer, Karriem. Thank you for that one. So here's another question for you. So we talked about leadership in time of crisis, and unless you're God Almighty, know what is at the very top, right? You're all following somebody. So a leader is subject to some authority, right?
Yes,
how do you be a good follower in times of crisis? Say something about that. So, we talked about leading in times of crisis, but as you are leading people and, for example, let's give a right now example, right? We're leading our organizations, we're leading, small, large, whatever people are listening, different size teams or a team of one, right? But at the same time, we are following the authorities, right? We're listening to our governor. Wear a mask when you leave the house. We're following other leadership. How do you be a good follower in time of crisis?
A good follower is all about what's let's take right. We're following government officials, right? Mm-hmm. The goal is that we all stay at home as much as we can, so we don't affect other people. Right. And so I need to see what is my part of this thing. How can I help with this issue? Or for instance, right, someone gives a direction, we know what the goal is. Well, how can I be a part of this team? Right. And how can I help the team out to take this and obtain this goal? Or for instance, I remember where, because I couldn't even talk and I had to let somebody else lead. Mm-hmm. And now I'm supporting that person, right? Here's the information. I lost my voice. This is what you do. What can I help you to do? How can I help you facilitate the content without talking? Right. So sometimes we also need to take a step back, right? Be a part of the team. But I came up with it. Since you talk about servant leadership, I've been talking to people about this thing instead of stop being top down, but be mission driven. And then have the team around the mission.
Right.
So instead of having the CEO, the managers, the supervisor at the top and below them, how about you have the mission in the middle and then everybody around the mission? Right. And then we figure out what everybody's role is to get this mission accomplished.
Right. And it might mean that you take a second seat, right? It may mean that you with the title will take a second seat to some leadership to accomplish that particular mission. That's right. Yeah. And if you think about it, because we're men of faith, right? So if you think about the church, right? The church is not centered at the top down; it's centered in the middle, right? We're all followers of Jesus, and around that is how we get the mission accomplished. Right. So hopefully that could be the same in the for-profit business and the nonprofit business. Right. The mission drives revenue. The mission drives donors. The mission drives fund development. The operation is the mission. It's the mission.
And once we get off the mission, that's when we get in trouble. Because then we want to be, let's say it's McDonald's, right? And they want to be now not Burger King, but they want to be Chick-fil-A. But McDonald's don't do Chick-fil-A. McDonald's, listen, get people in for a number, for a low cost, in and out, see you later, 2 drive-throughs, and that's it.
Right. And I love what you're
once
saying.
We start trying to be like other people, we're gonna get off our game.
Yeah. I love what you just said, being mission trumps operations. You need operations, you need valid operations, you need efficiency, you need momentum and so forth. But if mission isn't at the center, then what are you operating? Right? And operations for a season, by the end of that season, if there's no mission, then everything just falls out. I think, as we shift in this season, to use the word again, of IEL, we're trying to be remembering our roots and remembering our mission, which is to, end poverty through entrepreneurship, considered as having lack and no hope of more. And to add to that, curating, developing tech culture, the tech economy, increasing diversity in that area. And as we push to be more mission focused, it's allowed me or freed me my own whatever inner ego and so forth to say, let's do this virtually. Let's do virtual events and virtual classes and just give the information to the people, because that's where our heart is, right? To encourage, to build, to uplift, to advance people. So true.
That's right.
Yeah. And the other thing I heard you say too about, I guess circling back to the whole servant leadership, is that if we can be good, if as leaders, as we're learning to be leaders and to be better leaders, we also be really good followers, right? And in humility and wisdom, then that may be also part of the definition of servant leadership, right? Where I can lead and I can follow at the same time, and there's no, it's no skin off my, at the same time I'm called to lead.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Listen. Even Jesus was a person that washed somebody else's feet.
Right.
And many times we as people, including myself before, where I felt that I didn't have to go and do what the other team members were doing. Mm-hmm. But when you do that, that shows that you have a heart of humility and that you're empathetic to what they're doing.
Right.
Right. You take a look at when 9/11 happened at 9/11 and started talking to people that was working there. That showed that, listen, he's down with us. Right. He's just going to stay in his office, right, and command, what was going on. He went to the site and said, listen, man, I'm gonna help you all out and give you the direct support.
Right. That is so true. That is so true. Well, Karriem, this
so I don't know how you want to end it. I don't know how.
Well,
people listen. You all should get in contact with me. Listen, I'll give you all a 30 minutes free coaching session if anybody wants to do it. With their organization, also,
you want to flash up your email, that last slide with your contact information, so at least that will be up one more time. So again, thank you for everyone who joined us, and for those of you who are listening to this version, we have here Leading Through Crisis with our very own John Maxwell certified coach, Karriem Kanston. I'm Keno Mullings, CEO of the Mullings Group and founder of IEL, Institute of Entrepreneurship. And have you join. Leave comments wherever you're watching this. Karriem, you're coming back again. This was fun. Just talking with you.
Thank you, man.
We have quite a few more John Maxwell, trainings, workshops coming. We're a big fan. Absolutely love the fellow. I hope to meet him someday. So John Maxwell, if you stumble across this, I want to meet you someday. So again, thank you so much, Karriem. You're a leader, in this city of Providence, our fair city in the state. To you, many respect you and honor you, and so I honor you as well. Thanking you for sharing your knowledge with my IEL family, and we're definitely the better for it. So again, we're just going to sign off. Any last words, Karriem, before I end live button?
Listen, everyone, remember, leadership is all about influence, and you can make great decisions during a crisis.
All right. Enough said. All right, Karriem, well, you take care, my friend, and you be safe and be well.